Yeah.
You're on, Cliff.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff. Go ahead, John.
No, Eileen's here too. I didn't say anything.
You pointed your finger. I thought that was... Anyway, today is Valentine's Day. My co-host, Eileen Delrossi, has just appeared. How are you feeling, Eileen?
Hanging in there.
You what?
I'm hanging in there.
Oh, yeah. You're a little raspy.
Little bit.
And later, we're expecting now Ralph Hogan on the show. The weather, it's 22 degrees. And the reason we're all Zooming is when I got home at 9 o'clock, my driveway was pretty slick. And the question was, would be better off this way. It's going to get up to 32. It's going to be bright and sunny, but winds gusty in the afternoon. And Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have snow again. I think it starts around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, that's where we are. Oh, it's a different Eileen now. So, on this day in 1835, the original Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Latter-day Saint movement was formed in Kirtland, Ohio.
Not hearing you good, Cliff.
What?
Not hearing you good.
Huh. That's strange, isn't it?
It's better now. There's a look at the wind outside. The wind is whipping. So you want to drive little Cliff and little Eileen to school today. Because the wind is whipping.
In 1849, in New York City, James Polk became the first serving president of the United States to have his photograph taken. So photography hasn't been around that long, has it?
What year was that, Cliff?
1849.
Good point.
1876, Alexander Graham Bell applied for a patent for the telephone, as does Elisha Gray. Graham gets the patent. In 1929, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. 7 people, 6 of them gangster rivals of Al Capone's gang, were murdered in Chicago. A typical day in Chicago. 2006, YouTube was launched by a group of college students, eventually becoming the largest video sharing website in the world.
And we're on there today.
Yeah. 2018, a shooting at Marion Stoneham Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida is one of the deadliest. 17 dead plus 17 injured. That's good. Today is the birthday in 1800 of Emery Washburn, U.S. historian, lawyer, politician, 22nd governor of Massachusetts. And today, in 1859, George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. Was born. He is the inventor of the Ferris wheel. In 1941, Senator Paul Tsongas was born here in Lowell. He has sadly passed away in 1997. His sister still lives here. 1972, Drew Bledsoe was born. And on this day in 1891, William Tecumseh Sherman, American general, passed away. And of course, it's the feast day of St. Valentine. So, Wednesday, I was listening to a U.S. House committee and noted one of the Democrats referring to the Trump-Musk administration. Have you seen that phraseology?
I've heard it. It's just Democratic rhetoric. They're in sore loser mode, and the Democrats and Republicans both forget it's the unenrolled that put you in your seat. So keep ignoring us and see how much we like you next election time.
Yeah, I heard that that it was huge disrespect for Elon to not be dressed up in the Oval Office and have his son there, and that how he's not working directly for Trump and he can dress any way he wants. And that Elon spoke 3,667 words and Donald Trump said like 2,800 something words, and that's the biggest sign of disrespect ever.
Well, with respect to Elon Musk, he reminds me of how President Obama used to dress in the White House. Very similar. Drop the tie, often in a leisure shirt, and it's the Democrats are red hot mad, and they're wicked sore losers. So we're going to hear, don't like the color of the baseball hat, the roll of toilet paper's backwards in the bathroom. We're going to hear all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that Elon's appearance in the Oval Office was disrespectful of President Trump at all. And you notice his son was dressed in a tie and jacket. He was being a typical 4-year-old, but still, he was dressed in a manner that suggested respect.
And 2 months ago, you wouldn't have a shot like that of the Oval Office. They're in the Oval Office almost every single day, the media is.
That's true. But calling it the Trump-Musk administration would be like us saying it was the Biden, Jake Sullivan, Lee Brainerd administration.
Well, the Democrats own the media, and the media's got to realize most of your customers are unenrolled and disenchanted with the way you run your companies.
I'm not sure that the Trump campaign was disrespecting the unenrolled. I think they went out of their way to pick up voters in unusual places. Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, vote 52 to 48. And I noticed Mitch McConnell voted against her. So I'm glad she's in.
Well, Kennedy made it. That's the biggie, that Kennedy made it.
Yes. But New York State Attorney General Letitia James has filed a suit in federal court to prevent Tulsi from taking any actions. I think that's the Democrat #1 campaign approach post-inauguration, is to have Democrat attorneys general suing to block the administration. But as John says, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in. Now the question is, will Kash Patel make it to the FBI? So speaking of Letitia James and the state of New York, The Democrats apparently wanted to delay the special election to replace Elise Stefanik until November. So the party claiming to defend democracies decided to abandon the struggle in New York. A bill passed with probably large majorities could deny the New York's 21st Congressional District voters any representation for an additional 6 months. I think it's awful. So let's see. Stephen Green wrote, "Heads are going to explode when Doge cancels this boondoggle," and what he was talking about was Boeing Company's space launch system. It apparently doesn't have what it takes to get stuff to the moon, the surface of the moon. They're going to have to put up a satellite and then operate off the satellite. And Boeing Vice President David Dutcher has warned workers to be prepared for layoffs today. So,
going back to that, we're going to Mars or the moon, Cliff? What are you talking about there?
we're going to the moon.
Okay, we've already been there, so now we're going to put a warehouse in the sky. We can't just bring everything with us?
Yes.
Understood. Thank you.
So, Boeing's competitor here is, of course, Elon Musk. So,
Well, the media is making Boeing look bad, and they've been making Boeing look bad for a long time. That's going to turn around now because the media doesn't like Musk. And they don't like Musk because he doesn't buy TV ads for his Teslas.
yep.
Ralph Hogan's on his way.
I don't think it's all about money, though, John. It's also about power. And Musk
know.
seems to have more than his fair
Above
share.
everything is gold. Once you have enough gold, then you go for power. I got to get Ralph.
Okay. And speaking of exploding heads, Russian officials are investigating a plot that allegedly sent explosive-laden first-person view goggles to drone units in the hopes they would detonate, killing or injuring the operators, which mirrors the mass attack Israel carried out against Hezbollah back in September using thousands of explosive-packed pagers and walkie-talkies. Killed more than 24 Hezbollah members and thousands were wounded. So investigators reportedly intercepted these explosive-rigged goggles before they could be activated. And on 8 February, the Boy Scouts of America marked its 115th anniversary by officially changing its name to Scouting America, which the rebranding reflects more than just a cosmetic adjustment. It signifies a departure from the organization's foundational principles, succumbing to the relentless pressure of political correctness and gender ideology. So, Eileen, does this mean Girl Scouts are going away? Ooh.
Ralph, you're going to sit in the middle over here, and you're good to go, right there.
Oh, Girl Scouts! They can't take the Girl Scouts away!
But the Boy Scouts are Scouting America is bringing women in.
You know what? What about the cookies? Are the cookies gonna go away? The Girl Scout cookies? What would happen again? You think there would be a revolt?
So, Ralph, you there?
I am here, Cliff. How are you?
Good. What do you think about the Boy Scouts going away and becoming Scouting America?
So combining both or just doing away with Boy Scouts?
Well, eliminating Boy Scouts and just calling it Scouting America so they can have girls in there.
What are their numbers today?
What?
What are their numbers? Members? How many Boy Scouts do we have?
I don't know.
Okay. In
Were
general,
you a Boy Scout, John?
I'm sorry, Cliff, there's too many audio points going here. Would you repeat your question?
Were you a Boy Scout or a Cub Scout?
Nope.
I was. I thought it was a great experience. Ralph, were you in scouting?
I was not, but I have participated in some functions that they've had, and it's a good organization. It teaches life skills.
Yeah. So, Eileen, were you a Girl Scout? Give us a thumbs up.
Her camera's off.
Yeah, I know it is. Okay.
As you can tell, Eileen had banged out for this morning because she has a wicked bad cold. I sent her an invite anyway, so she's a trooper. She's here, but her camera's off.
Thank you. I definitely was not a Girl Scout, but I love the cookies.
Yeah. So, Eileen, how are we doing on Karen Reed this morning?
Oh, there's a lot going on. I'll text it all, okay? I'll text it to John on here, okay? But I don't think I have the voice enough to keep going.
We'll let it go. We'll let it go to next week.
Okay.
All right. So Eileen's going to be texting, and so Michael Schellenberger was out on X, and he said, the New York Times says, Musk asserts without proof that bureaucracy is rife with fraud. And Schellenberger says, seriously? The GAO, the General Accounting Office, under Biden, estimated last year we were losing 233 to 521 billion per year in fraud. And he writes, guys, it's right there. Why do you continue with this fraud? And I says, shaking my head.
Well, that's how government does things. If it doesn't affect your position or your salary, nothing's going to happen. If there was a commission on all the money you could save, bam, things would change.
Well, the other interesting thing is that the New York Times had published an article on the GAO report. So,
well, what did you glean from that article?
The what?
The article you referred to, what did you what's your takeaway from that article?
That they're clueless at the New York Times.
Okay.
From the GAO article,
Excuse me.
I take away that even under Biden, people were aware that we were losing up to half $500 billion a year to fraud. I mean, it's appalling. But,
Cliff, fraud's going to go on no matter what you do. I'm glad we're catching a lot of it. No one's going to go to jail. It's a big dog and pony show.
some people are going to go to jail.
Okay. Tell that to, look how hard OJ, rich people don't go to jail, Cliff. They just don't. Look how hard OJ had to try to go to jail.
He was innocent.
He had to try overtime to go to jail. He finally got there, made himself happy. He's in jail. but he had, for stealing his own clothes out of a, and the court finally said, he's that dumb. He's stealing his own clothes in Las Vegas. We're going to put this guy in jail. Okay, got 2 texts here. Listening to Chuck U. Schumer trash the Trump administration is comical. He's a gifter. No, I'm sorry, a grifter who only cares about himself, not the American people. Bad hombre, that's from Jay. And then Jay continues, oh boy, Eileen, I hope Eileen feels better. Back to you, Cliff.
Yep. So one of the issues that's come up with due to Doge is the National Institute of Health gives out money for research, and they've been paying 60% or more additional money to the institutions where the research is being done for overhead. Now, I don't know, overhead is supposed to pay for all that additional costs like buildings, heating in the winter, air conditioning in the summer, computers that are joint use. But
limousines, air travel, vacation. When you have a politician throw a word in there, perhaps. Okay, Scar, let's zero in on the word perhaps. What did you mean by the word perhaps? Which includes amenities. Okay, just exactly when you say amenities, what does that mean? Oh, well, we're going to give the mayor an SUV to keep. That's going to be one of the amenities. So you have to nail politicians down, but sadly, most politicians don't take questions.
Yeah. So, I'm
Ralph,
not sure.
Well, let's ask Ralph sitting over there. What do you think, Ralph?
I'd rather not answer that question. Yeah, well, the less said, the better, but amenities covers a great deal of space. Campaign laws and everything else are meant to keep everybody within the yellow lines, and most people follow it. Some shade and skirt the line. We've read about Mayor Adams, and he's been recently saved by the administration. And the world turns.
Do you think that Adams is off the hook forever? I think he's temporarily free in the fishbowl.
Most of the time, if someone goes over the double yellow lines in the road once, they're most likely going to do it again.
I richly agree. Back to you, Cliff.
I noticed that the federal judge for the Southern District of New York resigned after the Department of Justice dropped the charges. So Eileen has texted in that with regard to Karen Reed, the Supreme Judicial Court upheld the corrupt judge's decision to not drop 2 of the charges that jurors reported they all found her innocent on. Lots of motions filed back and forth. Judge also allowed prosecution's motion to impound the, this is an acronym I don't know, AARCA experts' documents from the federal investigation. And defense put a motion to not allow prosecution expert, dog-biting expert to testify because he's not a medical doctor. Also, defense motion to bring in Sandra Birchmore case. So, Sandra Birchmore was the pregnant woman who was presumed to have died of natural causes, but now looks like she was murdered by her police officer impregnator.
Boy, aren't you using your generic terms today?
I'm using what?
Your generic terms.
You didn't think impregnator was generic?
Oh, you old seed spreader.
So, and Eileen texted that the same corrupt police were involved in both cases, Karen Reed and the Birchmore case.
Hey, let me ask Ralph how he motored it. So, Ralph, you drove in this morning.
Yes.
How are the roads? With all
Clear.
the black ice kicking around?
Yes, the intersections with ice, very careful. You sort of glide a bit that you didn't plan on.
So if you see what looks like water, it's ice.
It's ice, there's no question. It's
So-
cold and, that black ice is pretty slippery.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Cliff.
Okay. So, the question about the justification for DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, it turns out that it's there because of Barack Obama back in 2014. That when he put out his Obamacare and they had a website, and the website crashed on the first day, he created an organization, U.S. Digital Service, and they hired a bunch of people directly to come in and fix the website. And when President Trump succeeded him as president, he kept the U.S. Digital Service going, but the head, instead of making the head a political appointee, made it a civil service position. And then Joe Biden came in as president and turned it back into a political appointee. And that's how Donald Trump was able to slide Doge in.
Got a comment from the audience. President Biden answered questions. Unfortunately, they were all lies, just my opinion. Understood. Thank you for your comment. Back to you, Cliff.
So, check this out, and the fact-checking website denies this, but our senior Senator Elizabeth Warren has been quoted as saying, "There's nothing in the Constitution that says ordinary Americans have a right to see what we're spending tax dollars on." That sounds like what the Democrats think, but I don't think it's correct.
Well, in law, we call it executive session. Secret squirrel meetings. The cone of silence.
All right.
Don't you think Senator Warren's a little over the edge with, saying your tax dollars are not worth looking at, not, transparency and such aren't warranted?
I think so.
I agree, Ralph.
The only worst thing I think is that Elizabeth Warren saying the rich should pay their fair share of taxes, but never being able to define what fair share is.
Now, Cliff, it's early in the morning and I was very stressful on that black ice, but what pops into my mind at this moment is the Boston Tea Party. Didn't we already do this?
Yes, we did. So,
I think it's time for change.
yeah. Somebody wrote, if you're more angry that a handful of 22-year-old software engineers are writing code to uncover fraudulent government spending But it's the people who are fraudulently spending your hard-earned taxes. It's time to do some soul searching. No, I
guess
think
so.
that's what. Go ahead.
You know, government was designed way back when, not for a career, but go in, you know, do a few years, you know, community service, U.S. service, whatever, and move on. Go back to the farm. And, you know, back in early American history, they went back to the farm and they produced. It seemed.
Didn't work out that way, though.
No.
So we got a comment from the audience. It would be more, I would be more worried about all the new craters that opened up more than the ice on the roads. Okay, whatever you say. Thank you.
I think that's potholes, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's a couple of them on the route I take. I drive someone to work 6 days a week, and one of the routes I take, there's a couple of real belly droppers.
Well, I was on Wamasett Street yesterday, and the potholes were all fixed. So I got a tip of the cap to the pothole fixers in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. Thank you.
Okay. So I thought it was interesting that South Korea registered a per capita gross domestic product of $36,000 last year, outstripping Japan and Taiwan. Those guys are doing pretty good there in South Korea.
They sure are. Elizabeth Warren is another swamp creature. Hopefully, Kraft's kid will beat her at the ballot box. That's from Jay. Interesting.
Well, first he's got to beat Michelle Wu. Then he can go after Elizabeth Warren. So, John, I put this in for John, that North Korea has issued Donpyo money, which are money vouchers to help people spend money to stimulate the economy. And it turns out the vouchers have lost about a third of their value. But, so.
Well, the people don't have faith in the North Korean government. They smile to the guy's face, but as the internet opens up and they realize there's a completely different world rather than North Korea. The North Korean people, sadly, they got state media, they got the president of the ruler of their country, they adore the guy. They know nothing else, but America is trying to kill every one of them. And that's what they're told most days through their media outlets. And if they don't worship their leader, they can be executed.
Yeah. So, earlier in the week, there was some question as to whether or not the Israel-Hamas agreement would continue and would get more hostages released on Saturday. But I saw something this morning that says Hamas will release 3 hostages. Do we think this is going to last for a while? Ralph, you got any thoughts on this?
I would not want to be a businessman doing business with Hamas. You can't count on them for anything. It's a tough situation. I fear that the bravado in Washington, you know, what are they going to do? I mean, how do you extricate people from that situation? We can't bomb them. You might kill the hostages.
Well,
It's a tough situation. You send in the Marines, it's a problem that we really don't want. It's a crazy
My input is this, okay? When I see that the hostage situation, okay? They released 4 Israeli hostages, and they're on TV, and they traded for 800 of the other side. They never showed the other side.
No.
They don't show the reunification of the loving families that they went home to. They don't show that. They only show the Israeli hostages. This is globally. Even when I watch European news, Australian news, they only look at the Israeli government people. They don't care about Hamas people at all. And that's got to stop. I got a comment from the audience here, then we're going back to Cliff. Unfortunately, we just re-elected the fake Indian. Massachusetts is going down the tubes. I agree. Worcester, I don't know what that word is. Capitulating to the alphabet mafia. Yeah, if you want to see a good drag show, head down to Worcester. Good points, thank you. Back to you, Cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, that, I had put that in the second session, but a number of people had gone to the city council and testified about their fear of what could happen to them, being that they were transgendered. So the Worcester City Council, with 2 dissenting votes, voted to create Worcester as a sanctuary city for trans people. Now, whether trans people are really in danger, I don't know. Somebody had a funny, it was Glenn Greenwald, who's a reporter, had a funny tweet out on X about how Donald Trump is going to put all the LGBT people in camps, but in the meantime, he has given us our first openly gay Secretary of the Treasury, and will probably celebrate by singing the original, having the original Village People singing YMCA. And interestingly enough, Glenn Greenwald himself is gay. His husband is a member of the Brazilian legislature. So I think that people may be a little overreacting, but do we think that we should make Lowell a sanctuary city for LGBT people, or is Lowell a sanctuary city for people who aren't breaking the law?
Lowell, clandestinely, is a sanctuary city. Right now, they're afraid because Lowell, above the city government, above all, worships money. I know power is really important, but without that money, it's no good. So the city of Lowell is going to put all this stuff, hide it in the bushes, but the practice is still in place. We are a sanctuary city. My humble opinion. Back to Ralph, you got any thoughts?
It's a tough situation. I mean, the homeless situation in downtown is, really, it's rough. But in general, on the government approach, I think has been off for a number of decades. And, what I'm alluding to is you can't hype the city as a premier entertainment, dining, and upscale destination, and at the same time, in your physical budget, promote and have a number of social service agencies that naturally service homeless and the downtrodden. I mean, if they weren't, one flies in the face of the other. I mean, there should be, in the perfect world, there should be harmony for everybody and everything, but unfortunately, every time there's a government program available, we have a very high success rate, but most of it is based on a social service basis. And a perfect example would be subsidized housing. The mills in Lowell were going to be renovated and made absolutely gorgeous, and some of them were, but when the market wouldn't absorb the condos, they were relegated to the subsidized housing program. So downtown doesn't have the economic wherewithal. It doesn't have the pocketbook to support that high-end entertainment and dining and so on and so forth. And I mean, I'm not a top-flight economist, but just look at the number of restaurants that are no longer here.
I got a comment from the audience. Instead of woo socks, we can call them panty stockings. Interesting. Thank you for your comment. Back over to you, Cliff.
I think Ralph's making a point, and without the high-end restaurants, without people shopping downtown, there's tax revenue that's going some other place. And people will be going to Dragon or Tingsboro or Chelmsford to dine out and enjoy themselves. It's Randover, I guess. Tewksbury. Myself, I don't shop downtown. I don't see a reason to shop downtown. I can get what I want at Walgreens out on Tewksbury Town Line, or Walmart, maybe go to Target, but the downtown, it seems to be slowly dying to me.
Well, Ralph, when was the last time you were in downtown Lowell?
3 days ago to the Athenian Corner.
Now, when you were a kid, did the city take away, I'm going to read this text while we're looking at it. Respectfully, Lowell has a park for a guy who was homeless and an alcoholic. I don't get that. But anyway, thank you for your comment.
South Common.
Huh?
South Common. We've created a park for the homeless.
Yeah, well, they're gone now. And the city created that problem. And the guy who, St. Tom, we'll call him, because his friends don't want me to call him the shitty manager anymore, so we'll call him St. Thomas. St. Thomas told his police department to herd the homeless to the South Common, ruining the neighborhood, making it scary in the neighborhood, and I'm not letting that go, okay? Now, because of a law, thank God for the law, it took them probably 30 days, but they did kick the homeless off the common. Oh, don't say that. Well, that's what we did. We kicked them off the common. Now they're living down by the railroad tracks. It's not our problem. We're stuck with the homeless. It's not our problem. It's a federal problem. These people are subsidized by the federal government to continue in the lifestyle they have. They don't have to do anything. Their EBT card is going to be complete. Where's my EBT card?
I don't think
My
that...
EBT card right here, this guy right here, this gets perpetuated. No matter what happens, they fill this card up every month, no matter how good or how bad I am. That's got to stop. Go to you, Cliff.
Yeah, I don't think that we can shove this off on the feds. This is a problem that needs to be addressed at the state, county, and town and city level. Although I did see Eric Gitcher had a Facebook post saying that the MBTA needs to send their police out to police the homeless on the railroads. And I think Eric's right about that.
It ain't gonna happen. What behooves the MBTA police to do anything? This is not gonna go good, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna read off these two texts. Before we had a text come in, and I didn't understand what it meant, but I'm gonna blow it up a little bit. Respectfully, Lowell has a park for a guy who was homeless and an alcoholic. And Cliff connected this to South Common, but then the texter says it's Jack Kerouac. Interesting comment, thank you. And then Cliff's thought on Trump's ridiculous statement that Ukraine will not be involved in any peace talks or the process. Well,
I thought that the word out today was that Ukraine would be involved.
J.D. Vance is with Ukraine's president this morning.
The idea that we would come up with a peace agreement and not involve the Ukraine government is
Out of line.
yeah,
Well,
bad foreign policy.
let me ask you this question, okay? Is Ukraine, in my memory, wonderful people. They have a very corrupt government. They were Russia's best friend until they got stingy with something to tick off Vladimir Putin, and he came and got what he wanted to get. And this is all about Ukraine's government being stingy with something that ticked off Vladimir Putin. We'll never find out why, but in Russia, listening to the French newscast this morning, they have a French newscast in English, so I caught a little bit of it this morning. And the French are scared stiff that we're going to trust Russia. Trump's going to trust Russia. He can't trust Ukraine. He can't trust Russia. They're liars. I mean, right on French TV, right out loud, the Russians cannot be trusted. Thoughts, Ralph?
Well, the only thing I can say is if there were tanks on the Vermont border heading towards Boston, I'd call the Russians liars too. I mean, they have a much more intensified type approach to this than we do. And I really don't understand why they didn't have a better budget for defense.
Well,
they're not even funding their own armies.
It seems to me, my takeaway from what you just said is you don't trust the Russians either. Do you trust the Ukraine government?
That was pretty bad. I mean, the Ukraine,
If you could start off with a yes or no, and then tell me more.
not on face value of what I know. I mean, they were pretty corrupt. I mean, to this day, they don't have elections. He did away with them.
Eileen, you got anything to say out there in Zoom land? She's off getting ready for school. So go ahead, Cliff. Your thoughts on Ukraine? Are they trustworthy?
No, because President Biden proved that they could be manipulated with money. So, yeah, they're not trustworthy. They've developed patterns of corruption. But I don't think that the Ukrainians trust the Russians, because it was less than 100 years ago that the Russians starved them out and killed a couple million Ukrainians in the 1930s. And the New York Times covered it up. So,
Why did they, in your mind, Cliff, why did the New York Times cover it up? And I'm going to let you process that question for a second. I'm going to read this text. All the doctors and lawyers in Lowell's son all moved out of downtown. That had a big impact. Now it's old, dusty, outdated buildings. Good point. Go ahead, Cliff.
because that reporter was chumsy with the Soviets and fed them bad news, and we were in the 20s going through a period of trying to find goodness in the Soviet Union. So they just suppressed the news.
Well, what news do you think is being suppressed today?
You mean back then or today?
2025, there's news being suppressed. Like all the troubles they have in the Sudan, it never hits the media. Sudan's in a lot of trouble, but not going to get any media attention. Everything's Trump, Trump, Trump. What's Trump doing? What's Putin doing? That's the big news.
Okay, so I thought that I'd go through some notes from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and I got this from the blog site Order, which is done by Guido Fox. He says, we must start by recognizing the returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. He says no U.S. troop deployments to Ukraine and no support for troops who do. Reversal of previous U.S. position in favor of Ukraine NATO membership. Security guarantees instead must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. Europe has, oh, by the way, the Ukraine in NATO was a big irritant to the Russians. Europe has to provide the majority support for Ukraine's defense, the overwhelming share of future lethal and non-lethal aid to Ukraine, a 5% GDP demand, a starting point from Trump, funding imbalance will not be tolerated. U.S. energy will help diplomacy. Trump is unleashing American energy production, encouraging other nations to do the same. Lower energy prices coupled with more effective enforcement of energy sanctions will help bring Russia to the table. I think he's got a good point there.
Whose opinion is this, Cliff, you're reading? Whose opinion?
Promise prioritizing deterring war with China in the Pacific, recognizing the reality of scarcity and making the resourcing trade-offs to ensure deterrence does not fail. That means Europe must take ownership of conventional security on the continent. So that's the Secretary of Defense's line with regard to Ukraine.
So is your energy bill going down, Cliff? While you process that answer, I'm going to read this text. Let's not kid ourselves. The U.S. is negotiating with Russia. Ukraine is just a puppet of the West. Interesting comment. So did your electric bill go down, Cliff? Your heating, did that price go, did that drop yet? Because he's bragging the prices went down. So
did yours go down?
No. So when the politicians say, oh yeah, the heating bills are down. No, they're not. Got any points, Ralph?
Well, in general, your newest house stock is much more energy efficient than some of the older houses I've lived in. But if you're saying the world energy cost is going down, I don't think so.
How about locally? Did your energy costs go down?
We're on natural gas, and not really. I mean, the utilities do a wonderful job of lobbying for increasing rates.
Yep.
The taxpayer doesn't have a paid lobbyist.
Energy just keeps going up and up and up. Gasoline prices were stable, but now they're going back up again. Back over to Cliff. Thank you, Cliff.
Wait, I haven't seen gas prices going up.
2 cents.
To what?
2 cents. I know Trump's getting rid of the penny, so we don't have to talk about pennies anymore, but went up 2 cents.
Where I buy gas, it's been the same price now for months. I haven't seen any change.
Well, I'll get gas today, so I'll know more on Monday.
Okay.
So can I just interject? They want to get rid of the penny, and I think the penny costs 3 cents to produce, but the nickel costs 13 cents. If you're looking for economy of scale, wouldn't you go after the most expensive product to cut?
I think that in the end, Trump wants to go to digital. Politicians don't want to go to digital because they have shoe boxes of cash. So they don't want to go to digital because they don't know if they're going to get found out with the shoe boxes of cash. Because to me, I would correct the whole thing by saying that if your money, the money you're spending today, you take out of your pocket, is over 10 years old, it can't not be received. So once it becomes 10 years old, you got to bring it down to the bank and say, hey, I have this money, and the bank's going to say, well, what you been doing with it for 10 years? Why'd you have it? So these politicians who have all this shoe boxes full of cash,
Now, you're talking about Washington, D.C. politicians.
we're talking locally. We're talking locally.
Local?
And, sure. Do you want me to get that bridge built for you? You gotta grease my palm. Don't kid yourself, Ralph. It happens. Tell me
Wait.
more. Tell me more, Ralph.
John, you're talking to a politician.
Yeah. I've sat on boards. I've sat on some elected boards, but I have been asked more than once, what's it going to take? How can I help you out here to find my plight favorable? No one's ever, I'm not asking you to admit it, Ralph, but I'll be surprised
all I
if no
can
one's
tell
ever
you, John,
tried
is
to twist
there are
you
shoe
around.
boxes at my house, but let me tell you, they're all Judy shoes. Imelda Marcos has no rival.
Well, I understand.
I like the reference to FL. That's good. John, are we about to go away?
Yeah, good thinking, Cliff. I'll drag this guy over there. Put the music up for a second. Notice how windy it is. It's 22 degrees outside, kids. Consider driving little Cliff to school today. We'll be back.
That's a good shot of traffic. Not really.
School committee. We're looking to hear back what's happening to the school committee.
Pretty quiet out there. We had a meeting last night. It was a little quickly, like 40 minutes.
So I'll ask you when we go back on the air with
Lowell had a meeting yesterday, and it was a special meeting, and it lasted about 2 minutes. Good. Best meeting ever.
You definitely want to bring out the back, and I'll put you.
That's backwards. So go ahead.
What do you want to do with it? Come on, I'll work you.
Introduce the show.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, come to me.
You're on.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. My co-host, Eileen Delrossi, is lurking in the background, but she's fighting a bad cold and has a really scratchy voice, so she's mainly texting in. And we have as our guest Ralph Hogan, who's on the Greater Lowell Technical High School School Committee. That's a mouthful. And John's got a couple of texts he'd like to put out, and then we'll talk to Ralph about the school committee, and we'll talk about the weather.
I missed the first text. I missed the days of global warming. This climate change thing isn't making me feel any warmer. All right, text number 2. I'll blow it up so you can see it a little bit better. The longer these wars drag on, the public tends to forget that Russia attacked Ukraine and Hamas attacked Israel. Sometimes that's now blurred. Putin wanted to expand Russia's territory. It's as simple as that, as to why he invaded Ukraine. Interesting comments. Back to you, Cliff.
Okay, so it's cold out there, 22 degrees. It's going up to 32, but it should be sunny. And then snow comes back afternoon tomorrow, Saturday. Ralph, you said it was black ice coming into the studio?
Oh, yeah. Be very careful at intersections. If you have black ice approaching an intersection, you got to glide a little further than you plan.
Okay. So you had a school committee meeting yesterday, Ralph?
Yes, it was basically a short meeting, but our students are out in the workforce. It's a very high number this year. It's approaching 75% of the student body. The upperclassmen are in the workforce, gainfully employed, getting skills honed, and things are going very well on that.
Ralph, I got a text that talks to you, so I'm going to blow it up, show it to the audience, and read it to everybody. And it says, Ralph, you have to be a federal politician to get away with stealing. Does Gold Bar Bob Menendez ring a bell?
Oh, yes. I read that story. It was impressive.
Well, they got both him and his wife, apparently.
Yeah. I guess the guy was over the edge.
No, he got caught. And what the other politicians in Washington, D.C. are doing right now is, what did he do left that we're doing right? How come they're not catching me? So, you got to, what did he do? Oh, he left the gold on the dashboard of his car. That's how they found out. So, they're good. Politicians are trying to find out how, because you look at the wealth gain of any Washington, or most Washington politicians, is they go in there and their value is $400,000. That's how much congressman, senator is worth. And within 2 years, they're worth $4 million. Where the hell did they get that money? And it's all from insider trading. My takeaway, it's insider trading.
And that's a big item. I mean, what you see, even the staffers have some sort of get out of jail free card on that trading. In other words, someone is coming up with a budget item for the Pentagon, and in it is a key vote for a defense contractor, sort of under the radar, to get a huge multi-million dollar contract. If you have that information and you know the votes are all done, and you go out and invest in that company, it's sort of definitely insider trading, but it's allowed in Washington.
Well, there's an app out there you can get for your phone. I don't know the name of the app, but this is off of Talk Radio. And it will tell you what senators and Congress people are buying on the stock market today.
The Pelosi stock guide is the best. When you see Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, investing in a group of companies, follow fast. And if I was to give a stock tip to you because I worked at, Raytheon, you and I could be in trouble for insider trading. But it's allowed in Washington.
And if you don't know what insider trading is, if you ever watch an episode of Seinfeld and you see Kramer goes to the betting place in New York, off-track betting, and somebody says, oh yeah, Lean Legs is going to win this race. And so he gets an insider tip from a horse owner that the race is fixed. That's what insider trading is in D.C. So how is Maxine Waters worth $100 million? Interesting comment. Back to you, Cliff.
But it's the cost of living in LA. She has to have that extra money.
Oh, boy.
So, Ralph, Eileen was wondering if you could talk about the YOA Youth Education and Training Programs and out of the VOC and how that works with mass hire and getting students jobs.
Well, we just got a $40,000 grant to work that out. Basically, our students are prepped to go into the workforce. If you're a plumbing student, they work with you to get in to a local plumbing company and get training. Everybody, the staff, teaching staff involved, the administration, the actual employer, and the student. It just coordinates and flows very nicely. And Kevin Coughlin does a pretty good job at Mass Hire.
Good. So they're not sitting on the sidelines. Hey, I've asked this of the Lowell school system, but I don't think I've asked about Greater Lowell. Do you guys track graduates for a number of years to see what your long-term impact is? Do you have some sort of email list or something like that where you go out and survey students at the 4-year or 10-year point after graduation?
I don't know whether it's 5 or 10 years out, but there is an alumni group. Whether they survey for career skills or not, I'm not sure, but I know they try to get alum to participate in the advisory groups. In other words, former students that have local plumbing companies, electric companies, that type of service. Automotive, they tend to favor the alumni and keep them involved to some degree in guiding the new technology.
Oh, that's good. I copied down a report by a Fox reporter, Bill Malugin, who's been up here in Massachusetts with ICE, and he said, I cover a lot of illegal immigration related stories around the country. Massachusetts is the only state that frequently releases illegal aliens charged with aggravated child rape and refuses to cooperate with ICE on detainer requests for them. Even in other sanctuary states and cities, I almost never see a lack of cooperation for child rape. But in this case, a Guatemalan charged with 3 cases of forcible child rape and 3 aggravated child rape was released on bail by Essex County, with ICE Boston saying their detainer request was ignored and they were not notified of his release. During one of my embeds with ICE Boston last year, they arrested 4 illegal aliens charged with child rape in a single morning. All of them had been released by local jurisdictions with ICE detainers ignored. I asked a mass law enforcement source how this keeps happening and how does someone charged with so many counts of forcible and aggravated child rape even get bail in the first place. The response was, welcome to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So this is, I find this pretty upsetting that we're not cracking down on child rape, child molestation.
Sliding this onto the screen. The number one rule in the mob is not to flaunt your ill-gotten wealth. It attracts unwanted attention. Those are the politicians who get caught. Cliff, on the child rape, back when I used to do the radio, we used to do the radio with George Anthes. There was an old buckaroo who lived in Leominster, I believe. and he'd call in, and he'd call in the morning and he'd call in the afternoon, of how many thousands of rapes happened this week. Thousands of rapes happened this week. And they're like, so I listen to the guy and I'm trying to figure out what is this guy talking about? And he's talking about two 17-year-olds making love. And that's where he got his thousands of rapes. Thousands of rapes. And so I asked him, I wondered, are these 4-year-old kids that are getting raped or 17-year-old kids getting raped? He says, mostly in high school. Boy meets girl. It's an age thing. So whenever the government says rape, well, that's for anybody, that's for a boy or a girl who's under 18 that had sex. What's your takeaway, Cliff?
I differentiate between statutory rape and rape that is not consensual. I mean, by definition, rape's not consensual.
I don't think the media does.
Is having consensual sex when you shouldn't be doing it.
Do you think the media differentiates?
I think we should differentiate.
No, do you think the media differentiates?
Yes.
Ralph, do you think the media differentiates and says, was it aggravated rape, unwanted, or was it consensual?
That's a tough question, but my basic first impression would be the media just goes with sensation, meaning whatever will sell. You know, some 75-year-old guy trips on the curb and, you know, goes down with the cane and so on and so forth. That's not a story, but as soon as you put the word rape or whatever, you know, the news media is there, you know, asking 64,000 questions and so on and so forth. You know, I think it's pretty odd, though, that we have a situation, local media, I just read it in the last couple of days, where, you know, a father and a daughter were in court for that issue. I mean, society's really gone off the edge.
Comment from the, thanks, Ralph. Comment from the audience. Bill Malusin, don't know who he is, used to be at the border, but they moved him from that area because the border crossings are down 92%. Does anybody know who Bill Malusin is?
Was he hit a welcome wagon in Texas?
Maybe. Don't know. Never heard the name before this morning. Back to Cliff.
Okie doke. So, John made the news today on the front page of the Lowell Sun. The article is Development Drives Parking Traffic Questions. This is about the former Heinz Tavern on Gorham Street, which is just off of the connector. And it's a pretty big building. John, can you turn my camera on and now? Oh, no, you don't have the...
You're on there now.
All right, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong.
No, you're doing good. Up a little higher. We got it.
So this is a pretty big building. 39 units, no parking spaces for residents. And there were several people quoted in this article, and John McDonough was definitely one of them.
Well, I got a little ticked off about this when I went to a meeting with my neighbor, Mike Zane. And we went down to the zoning meeting or the appeals meeting or whatever it was, one of them. And so we were down there, and we were pretty much told, you don't need parking. So Monday Night Dinner Club, I was talking to my friend Phil Tebow. I said, Phil, this railroad track, the B&M, whatever you want to call it, the MBTA rule, you have to put more housing in your town. How many parking spaces are required? He says, best of my knowledge, in Drake, we require 2. I asked my friend Sam Chase yesterday. Sam Chase is a pretty smart guy, lives out in charming Chelmsford. Says, Sam, the MBTA, how many parking spaces? He said, as far as I know, 2. The city of Lowell adopted will have 0 parking spaces. You don't have to have parking spaces. That's what we'll say. And then we'll say it's the law. We just got to get the city council to pass this. So the city council passes this thing that MBTA doesn't require parking. Now they have a law they can stand on. But which was unbeknownst to me that the city council pulled this off. This is what was put into my ear. Did I do a lot of study on this? No. But to me, that building you showed, Cliff, sorry, I got this runny nose. Must be one of the drugs I'm taking. And the problem is we have 39 units going in where Heinz's used to be. Great. I love new neighbors. They walk all over the neighborhood. They bring their little dogs. It's fun to walk down the street and just chit-chat with all these people because they live all over the place. They're from different regions of the country. It's amazing to talk to the people who walk the neighborhood. But at Heinz's Tavern, with my guess is 70 people moving in there, 60 of them are going to have cars. And they're going to park on South Highland Street, Walnut Street, Keene Street, South Highland Street, South Street, Highland Street. They're not going to walk to the train station. And the city goes, oh, they're within 1,200 feet of the Gallagher terminal. No, they're not. It's 1,500 feet. And the city still said, well, yeah, we'll just look the other. My takeaway from listening to the meeting, and it's on YouTube if you want to go and watch it. Some boring, it's going to snow Sunday. You got nothing to do, watch the meeting. But my takeaway from the meeting, it was fixed when they went in the door. And the more people who call and talk to me about it is, I'm beginning to think that the developer is connected to higher up officials in the city of Lowell. That's what I'm beginning to think. But it's wrong that you buy a condo for, we'll say, $200,000.
Where is that, John? I have my check.
How much do you think a condo is going to go for?
A condo in this town, $350?
Okay, so I pay $350,000 for a condo. I'm parking right outside. I ain't parking at the depot. Just to let the people out in Chelmsford and Tewksbury, Drake, understand, it's a 10 to 15 minute walk to the depot. Nobody's walking 10 to 15 minutes. They're just not going to do it. Plus, pay $70 a month to park your car. They're just not going to do it. So I like to get things right up front. Once they pass it, hey, we're stuck with it. My next phase is to find out what bank finances the operation, and we'll start to say this particular bank likes this idea. So we'll see what happens with it.
John, 2 things.
Go ahead.
One, of course, this doesn't apply to Drake or Chelmsford because it's just a strip of land on either side of the railroad, the MBTA, that
No, that's not true, Cliff.
this special housing zoning law applies, which is passed by the general court.
My takeaway, Cliff, is if a railroad track goes through your town, you are on the MBTA list to provide housing. If a railroad track goes through your town. That's how Chelmsford and Drake are in this.
What railroad goes through Drake?
I don't care if it's the Edaville Railroad, but they're required to put up housing.
All right, and Eileen wants to know if you're going to be running for city council now that you've identified this connection between contractors and the city.
At this time, no. I might have to. If I can't get somebody to run against Wayne Janess, because Wayne, he's a nice man. I met him one time, a nice fellow. But he's just lackluster. He's like Vanna Howard. Just nice woman, but lackluster with courage to make positive changes for the community. And I just see that with Wayne Jeunesse sitting there, letting the homeless be herded to the South Common for years, he needs to go away. Got 2 texts here. Where is all the snow going to go to the front of the building when we get 7 inches, because it will happen? Yeah, when I went through downtown Lowell the other day, disappointed with the snow removal. I guess the city doesn't do that anymore. What a joke of a rendition. They forgot to put in all the constant traffic and congestion that the buyer will have to put up with. Well, a very good point. Can you imagine, okay, Heinz's Tavern, it's at the corner of South Highland and Gorham Street, right next to the connector. There's a line to get on the connector right this instant. And starting at 3:30 this afternoon, there'll be a line to get off the connector. And you're gonna put 70 people in that building, maybe, or at least 60, 39 units. So 60 or 70 people are gonna live in that building. I don't know how they're gonna get out of their own driveway. It's gonna be difficult. I invite you today to do some banking at the Washington Bank on Gorham Street, the end of the connector. And I want you to park in Heinz's parking lot and try to cross the street. Just try to cross the street. Now, what happens is, my neighbor, I cut through his yard, I go down to Enterprise Bank, and it's almost impossible to cross the street. There's no crosswalk there, but Lowell is the jaywalking capital of New England, so as a Lowellian, I just don't think I need a crosswalk. So, it might take me a couple of minutes, but I'll get across the street. It's dangerous down there, but...
At 5 o'clock, that's a terrible intersection.
Well, just to conclude on this issue, when I was down to the zoning board, the zoning meeting with Mike Zane, I said to the head of the board, the chairman, I says, it's not about anything but revenue for the city. This is just more revenue for the city. And he said, you got it right. He agreed with me. So it's all about more money for the city. We don't live within our means, and that should go away. But right now, there's a movement afoot to let's give St. Tom a longer contract. The guy has 2 more years on his contract. What's he worried about? He's worried about, I'm coming for you, Tom. And that's not the truth. I'm just going to spark you to make you push excellence for our city. This business of you letting a building get created with no parking is wrong. And Ralph just said he's a real estate professional. He builds homes, $350,000 is what one of those condos is going to go, if it's a condo. And if you're renting, I don't know what they're going to charge for rent a month, but don't you expect to park outside your home? Back to you, Cliff.
The zoning has to be adjusted.
It's this MBTA thing, it's zones don't count.
Okay, but that goes back to Boston and the administration.
There's no mindset to fix it, no mindset to fix anything. But the best thing I can tell,
That's
all these kids out there, move to New Hampshire, get out of Massachusetts. It is a freaking mess, and there's no mindset down to the State House to fix any of these issues.
That is a migration that's happening.
I can't blame them.
You know, if you're starting out and the prices are astronomical, you can try to buy a house in Lowell, $700,000-800,000.
Well, right now there's a texter, I'll put this thing up in a second, about a place called Fury's Bar. It's on Fletcher Street, and then we'll go back to Cliff. And the guy brings up a good point. Blow it up a little bit.
What was his point, John?
Also, don't forget about the old Fury's Bar, another disaster waiting to happen. It's a piece of land on Fletcher Street, close to the Lord, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be a high-rise apartment building with no parking as well. So, incoming on that. Thank you for your comment. Back to you, Cliff.
Yeah, but did you see where Cambridge has done away with single-family housing zones?
No, I don't follow Cambridge like you do, sorry. And I don't think I
I'm
ever
sorry,
will.
you said what, John?
I don't follow Cambridge at all.
Oh. Well, yeah, they are our neighbors down south.
I know where they are, Cliff.
Okay.
With the change in the zoning that the state, this
Ralph, can you
administration
drag
puts,
that mic a little bit closer to you?
with this change in zoning that was forced through, having a building of 10 or more units without parking is kind of crazy. And sooner or later, it's going to affect your property values. Right now, there's a shortage of housing and you got demand. But as Lowell's history has shown, there's been, ebbs and tides, and, in the end, people will not come to a congested, poorly planned situation. They will go to the New Hampshires or the better locations. People vote with their feet.
Well, I think, too, that what we're doing in housing is perpetuating, to use an old-fashioned term, segregation. We're not allowing blacks and other minorities and poor Caucasians to build generational wealth. And one of the things that attracts me to the Joshua Kraft campaign against Michelle Wu in Boston is I think he understands this. We need to open up big tracts of land and put in housing projects that are inexpensive. I'm not saying cheap, but I'm saying inexpensive.
Okay, well,
Affordable.
how much is
Fancy
inexpensive?
house, but make it a satisfactory house that someone is willing to invest their money in to be an owner. Home ownership means you take care of the neighborhood, you take care of your own place, you take care of the neighborhood, you vote. I mean, why is Belvedere the place where people vote? Home ownership. Home ownership makes you a better citizen. And we're not doing home ownership. We're just perpetuating ranting.
Okay, well, Cliff, I'm going to hang you on one word there. You said not cheap housing, just affordable housing. I'm going to come back to you in just a second because I want to see what Ralph has to say. Put a price tag on what you say is affordable. I don't need the answer right now. Just think about that. Going to Ralph. Ralph, your thoughts?
You can't get a condo for, less than $380, $450 anywhere in the area. And housing, you double that. I mean, housing is expensive. And if it's a new house.
So as a builder, how do we get the cost down?
Pardon me?
As a builder, how do we get the cost down for housing?
The last house I built in Groton,
Yeah,
cost $500,000, $510,000.
that's the land and the cement and the wood.
That's the building.
Just the building, not the land.
No, it's expensive.
Okay, that's Groton.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cliff, going back to you, what's the price tag would you say is affordable?
I think that we need to get it down around 100,000.
So Ralph, as a builder in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts, how would you build $100,000? It would be not a freestanding house, Cliff. It could just be a condo. It could be a unit in a big building.
I don't believe you could build a small condo for $100,000. I'm telling you, the cost of the material is through the roof.
Yeah, I think we all need to at least take a walk through Home Depot or Lowe's and look at the price of a toilet, a bathtub, and just look at the price of it. And that's not installation, that's just having it dropped off on the work site. And I think we all have to consider that when we say, well, make it affordable. Much easier said than done. That's my thought. Cliff, back to you.
Yeah, I think that what it requires is a little bit of imagination down on Beacon Hill, because
There is none.
you build a single. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ralph.
There is none.
Oh, well, I think you're right. But if you're building a single house, you're making a unique creation. Whereas if you go and you build another Levittown-like operation, you've got 4 floor plans, and you build a section with 150 or 200 houses. You do it all at once. You don't build a basement, you just lay down some concrete, and then you come in and you do it in a production-like fashion. No uniqueness except different paint jobs, streets curved. You have 4 different designs on the front of the houses, but yeah, they're cookie cutters. And no, I'm glad I don't have a cookie cutter house. But we're talking about helping people get properties, own a home, build intergenerational wealth. And we're not doing that in Massachusetts.
Well, we have to ask our school leaders, like Ralph, to insist that the administration teach wealth in schools. Because, Cliff, the only reason you have a few bucks, the only reason I have a few bucks is I got lucky. There was no such thing as wealth school. Cliff, where did you go to school to get rich? And I'm going to read this text.
My parents.
When we all bought a home, we saved for a down payment, drove around in crappy cars and sacrificed a lifestyle. More kids nowadays don't follow the same rules. Good point. So, Ralph, you being a school leader, and your colleague, Lee Gitchia, he makes time to come and visit us now and then. And I insist that they teach wealth or personal finance at your school every year. Not just 15 minutes for 4 years, every year.
John, I
What are
just
your
sent you an
thoughts?
article a week or two ago about they got a program going now beyond, basic budgetary issues, home budgets and so on, for investing. And I can't remember the program, but it's a great way to introduce kids, and they give them, I think, $100,000 in, monopoly type money, and have them invest and build wealth or retirement funds, if you will, and they explain that through a monopoly type software program where the kids have real interest in buying Ford Motor Company and watching it go up or down, or Raytheon and so on and so forth. It's a skill that you gotta have to build that deposit to buy anything.
Well, here on City Life, we're lucky now and then. We get a guy by the name of Bill Johnson, Dr. Bill Johnson. Cliff was able to get Bill to come in. He's a university professor at UMass Lowell, one of Cliff's neighbors. And it's a learnable skill. The guy, he knows more about finance than anybody I know. It's a learnable skill that must be taught in grammar school, high schools, all over this region. So Drake and school committee members, you gotta teach personal finance. Tewksbury School Committee, you gotta teach personal finance every year. Not just 15-minute course once a year. Oh, it's the last week we'll teach finance. No, you gotta drill finance into people. Make your kids rich, and a lot of their problems are gonna go away. I'm gonna read this text and we'll go back to Cliff. Come on, let's get on there. Okay, good. There has always been a battle between Lowell and Cambridge as for the 4th and 5th largest city in Mass. Right now, we are the 5th by population. Not so long ago, we were 4th. State government money matters. I think the reason we dropped down is because a lot of the people who live in Lowell are not registered anywhere. They hide under the rug. Over to you, Cliff.
Yeah, one of the things that when I was young, was we still had, the federal government still had savings stamps. And you'd get a little book from the post office, and you'd put stamps in there until you got $18.75, and then you could buy a $25 bond. So there was a savings program that involved activity for elementary school children. They could participate in, they could get a reward. Maybe we need to bring that kind of simple activity back to help students do better, learn more. Just my opinion.
Okay, I got another text here, and the text says, I'm gonna blow this up a little bit so they can read it. And it says, if you're taught hard work ethic, then wealth will follow. No, because I go into the big truck dealership. Where's my camera? I go to the big truck dealership. I'm 21 years old. I guess got a job. I'm helping plumbers. I'm gonna go for my license. And they sell me an $80,000 truck just because they can. Now, the payments on my $80,000 truck are gonna crush me, and they'll give me a mortgage. Oh, don't worry. We'll give you a 6-year loan. A 6-year loan on your truck should be illegal. Why the hell are we letting these people do this? And they're lending, and I see these kiddos, and they're tickle pink, beautiful, beautiful trucks. These kids show up magnificent. They got the big wheels, and they got all decorated. They're so proud of their truck. And they're being crushed by the payments.
But it's affordable when you compare it to a home or a condo.
Right, so we have to, that's why I say the kiddo doesn't realize, okay, so you bought that nice truck. You're never going to be able to own a home. You're ruining your credit because you're going to lose the truck. You're not going to pay for it for 6 years. It's going to break. So it's just something we should be concentrate a little bit more on. And I'll keep antagonizing people about this. Thank you, Cliff.
Yep. So there was a survey out, National Assessment of Educational Progress, and the data showed reading scores, which had fallen dramatically from 2019 to 2022, fell again in 2024, with a record portion of 8th graders scoring in the lowest category for proficiency. I don't know, Ralph, if you saw in the news, the state with the best reading scores was Louisiana, and up there pretty close was Mississippi, which used to be horrible for reading scores. And math scores rose a bit for 4th graders, but were flat in 8th grade compared to 2022. So are the kids coming to you, are they able to do their sums and read, or are you noticing a fall off impacting their ability to learn?
When the student is accepted and they're assessed and so on and so forth, there is a methodology in place that whatever they're deficient, if their reading skills are down, they have a program set up for that. If math skills are down, they have intervention math programs that are set up. And the basic skills are assessed and addressed. And some of the recent immigration type folks, that's where you see more deficiencies in math skills. So they're addressed quickly, and they're brought up into the, by the time they graduate, they're up to grade level. But yes, there are some deficiencies coming in that are addressed. I'm not saying it's all recent immigration. It's no matter what the ethnic or social background, they are assessed and brought up to grade level pretty quickly. It's an intensive program, but reading is a skill that you have to have a child in the first few years of school pick up that skill and have good reading skills and habits. The best thing a parent could possibly do, even to a baby, is to read to them aloud. It's one of the best methodologies to get the child into reading. Because if you can read, you can get through life very nicely. It's a skill that's needed. I don't care whether you're a doctor, plumber, carpenter, whatever. You need that understanding and skill firsthand.
Are you finding that teachers are discouraged? I see articles from time to time indicating that you've got a certain amount of demoralization in the teaching profession, people dropping out. Are you running into any problems like that at Greater Lowell?
There's always some burnout factor. I mean, it just naturally occurs, but not really. It's pretty well run. I mean, but there is consternation with the, I'm going to say the domestic origin of respect and what is expected of the student in the seat in front of the class, in front of the teacher. You're going to find that there are certain factions that present themselves that just, it's not a good environment, that they don't conform to discipline and absorbing the information rather than extolling their momentary rap or whatever. So there is an adjustment for all the freshmen that come in, that there are high expectations and follow the basic policy and rules, and they'll get along fine. I mean, if they want to play sports, if they want to, engage, it's there. But we also expect that the discipline and respect and paying attention and doing the homework, stuff that comes secondhand to most, but it doesn't come to everybody as secondhand or a natural occurrence.
Yeah.
I got two texts I'm going to read off here. It says, put them on the screen here. Great show today. Pothole of the day, Fairmount Street, the whole street. That's from Jay. And then we got another comment from the audience. Skills are down and funding keeps going up for the Department of Education. You're right, $18,000 per student in Lowell. I think we just need more money. That should solve everything. No, we got to demand performance but Cliff, do you think more money's going to fix this?
No.
Ralph,
And
do you think more money's going to fix it, Ralph?
That's what they claim, but I tend to see that you get more with structure, you get more with respect. These kids are coming in and, they'd rather wear, Tommy Hilfiger or some wonderful sneaker
I had
or
my
whatever.
pointed shoes and long hair. Didn't you have pointed shoes and long hair?
Not really long hair, longer than
Did you
when
have the pointed shoes? Did you have Beetle
No,
boots?
no pointed
No Beetle
shoes.
boots for you? How about you, Cliff? Do you have Beetle boots? No, you were Elvis guy.
do I have what or who?
Beetle boots.
Pointed shoes.
No.
Well, you were an Elvis guy, right? So did you have the slick back hair like Elvis or?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Bach, Beethoven.
I'm not quite high and tight, but I do get a haircut once in a while. So back to the teenagers, there's a report out by some outfit known as the 74 that says teens are spending 90 minutes, a quarter of the school day, on their phones. And Stony Brook University did the study, using a third-party app. Girls are the biggest phone addicts, averaging 2 hours on their phones. That means students are on their phones messaging, streaming videos, checking Instagram in class, as well as during going between periods and lunch. So students are missing out on classroom learning and on real-life social interactions with peers.
Well, Cliff, you got an iPhone, I got an iPhone. Ralph, you got an iPhone?
Right there?
Okay. I get a screen report every single week, tells me I'm spending 6 hours a day on the phone.
Wow.
How, you get a screen report?
No, I just spend the time on the phone.
Cliff, do you get a screen report?
No.
Okay. I must have. My granddaughter probably fixed it up so I get a report, but I get a report once a week. And I'm there 6 hours a day on the phone. Where the hell is that coming from? And it's because I have the GPS thing on when I'm driving. That's what's called, that's ramping up my screen time numbers.
Yeah. So, looking to the future, next weekend we have Winterfest. It's going to be on Friday from 4 to 10 p.m. and Saturday, the 22nd of February, from noon to 10 p.m. It'll be on Middle Street and Palmer Street in downtown. So we have Winterfest to look forward to. I don't know if they're going to have human dog sled races or not this year, but John, have you been down to Winterfest?
No, not since the kids. No, when my kids were younger, we used to go. When LTC used to cover it, I used to do it with Gary Balser, but I haven't been there since John Cox was the manager. It's a fun time for the younger generation. It's a good time.
So, so we're looking that Elon Musk says that they're going to cut $900 million from the Department of Education. Most of it contract cuts hit the educational sciences portfolio, including education and innovation. Do we think Department of Education is adding or detracting from educating our students?
I think that the administration just wants the status quo. Keep sending us the money, and leave us alone. That's administration. The teachers are doing the best they possibly can, but when you have the special needs kids being put in a regular classroom, it does just disrupt the classroom rather badly. That's something that needs a serious look at. But the politicians are unwilling to do that.
Yeah.
Ralph, what do you think?
I did pick up that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, remember him from the election last year?
Yeah, they got him on the hot seat this week.
Yeah. He's thinking of running for the U.S. Senate, which would be good for Minnesota and not so good for the country. But
How does a loser recover?
I don't know. Is Kamala going to become the governor of California?
I don't know. I don't live in California, but a lot of my undertaker buddies out in California are fed up with the local government, and according to them, there's going to be some change. But we'll see what the general public does. They have quite the Democratic machine in place out there.
So, John, what are we having for lunch today? And is it going to be closed on Monday?
Closed on Monday, no live show from us on Monday. I got to write all the public access stations. comment from the audience says, great show today. Thanks, Ralph, for getting up early and coming
Yes. Thanks, Ralph. We appreciate it.
Well, I did figure out the Zoom, but I didn't have a number. I could have zoomed in and joined you, Cliff, but, I don't mind coming in chit-chatting with John. It's always a fun
I
time.
was supposed to send you a link.
I emailed him one. You got AOL, don't you, Ralph?
I have, puppy?
AOL is your email?
Yahoo or Gmail.
Oh, your Yahoo, I sent it to your AOL address.
AOL, that was old.
Oh, that's all I had, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'll fix it before you go home.
Okay. Remember that AOL? You have mail.
Yeah, I still have AOL. I still have it. Back to you, Cliff.
Okie dokie. All right, so what are we having for lunch today?
Oh, I'll get that up.
Oh, okay. So, also a free advertisement, the Purple Carrot came before the License Commission last night to get a one-day special license for Valentine's Day. So if you're looking for take your spouse out to dinner, 5 to 9 p.m. at the Purple Carrot on 107 Merrimack Street.
Okay.
John, go
So,
ahead.
Today is Valentine's Day over at the Senior Center. We're proud of them. They put out lunch 7 days a week, the Lowell Senior Center. And it's free. They'll ask you for $2. If you got $2, they'd appreciate it. But it's free. So you just go in the door around 10:30. Gal sitting at the counter at the desk there, her name's Tara. And talk to her and either give her the $2 or just tell her you don't have it. And she will give you a meal ticket. And you go into the great room, sit down, and at 11 o'clock, they'll put the food out, and you're walking out of the building around 11:30, all done. So that's today. Tomorrow, they have hot dogs and beans. On Sunday, they got baked ham. Monday, they're closed. Here's a pretty cool thing happening out in Tewksbury today. Let's see if this fit on the screen or not. Yeah, okay, good. Valentine's Day speed dating, February 14th, the Tewksbury Senior Center. This is the coolest idea.
Wow.
And speed dating, they're going to have it today. And it might not be too late to sign up. You're going to call this gal, Susan. The phone number's down the bottom here. But it's you just got to be over 60. Anybody who's, no, what did they say, 65? You got to be over 65 and up. And it's pretty cool. They're going to sit you at a table. You have a 6-minute conversation with somebody new, and you move on to somebody else. So I thought that was a pretty good idea. Tewksbury Senior Center, and the Tewksbury Senior Center engaged with a lot of other Council on Aging outfits to see if they get the numbers up. And Ralph has a special announcement he'd like to.
Yes,
What else?
I'd like to take this opportunity and wish my wife, Judy, a happy birthday and a happy Valentine's Day.
Wow.
Cliff,
What a guy.
Does that alleviate the need for flowers?
Yes, it does.
No. No.
No, flowers are good stuff.
So anyway, the Arts League of Lowell at 307 Market Street tomorrow, they're having a show from 3 to 5 p.m. Animals Wild and Tame with a reception. And Saturday from 2 to 4 on the sheet under the blankets with the reception. On the sheets under the blanket is about printing on the sheets. So if you like to go and do a little artsy kind of stuff, the Arts League of Lowell at 307 Market Street's got a couple of activities for you. And so in the last couple of minutes, Ralph, this birthright citizenship that President Trump has brought up, do you think it's a good idea or not to have birthright citizenship? And B, do you think Trump has got a leg to stand on?
Well, my limited history on that subject was it was put in right around the Civil War when to ensure that the black population got all the rights and privileges of citizenship. I think it presents a problem when you have the volume of people that have recently migrated under this terms. No matter what happens, when you increase the volume, you have a problem. I mean, the bus only holds 38 kids. If you put 60 in there, the police say, "What are you doing?" It's the volume. They're using an issue that was put in for in a different time, in a different application, and it probably needs tweaking. Will it get done? It won't get done legislatively. It could get done through the courts, but I think it's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
You know that there's what's the island, the American possession out in the Pacific?
Guam, where America's day begins.
Yeah, it's American territory, but what I'm getting at is they have foreign planes and they fly people in to have a child, but only the rich can do that. And there's Russians that do it. They fly in, they stay a week or two, have the baby, and then the baby has citizenship, and that's all they're looking for.
Same in Florida, apparently. Russian women fly to Florida to have their babies.
I find that odd.
No, I do too. But I see that, in my mind, the Democrats are trying to deal with Trump by having attorneys general sue him over and over again. There's like 14 cases going on. Not good.
I think that's a huge mistake because, what do we have now? Now we have the Attorney General suing New York. I mean, is that where we're going with our politics? I run against you for dog catching, you
30
win,
seconds.
and I sue you because you don't feed your dog? I mean, where are we going? It seems crazy to me.
15 seconds.
Okay. Hey, Ralph, thank you very much for coming in. And yes, happy birthday to Judy and happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next Friday.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
watching.